feel that Israel should be exploring, I was trying to quote you, that Israel should be exploring a separate peace with Hussein or only a part of a whole Arab settlement?
An understanding. I myself doubt very much whether Hussein would be ready to make a separate peace. But if he would, I think that we should, if we come to terms.
But what terms could there be if you insist on holding sovereignty effectively over the West Bank?
I didn't exactly say sovereignty. I mentioned there are rights to settle down there, to have Israeli settlement there. And I can go further and say that I think that our soldiers should stay on the Jordan River. Now, to go further than that, I think this should take place between us and the Jordanian government. And I'm facing now the American nation.
General, let me go back to the Egyptian military situation. You now occupy and have for almost 5 years a large slice of Egyptian territory, and yet we have just given you, agreed to sell Israel about 42 new Phantom aircraft, plus some other aircraft. How do you think this reacts on the Egyptian government in terms of the way they look at the United States?
I think that they should realize that the United States of America will keep the balance of forces. And that is to say that the way to come to an agreement with us is not by force, but by negotiation. I do hope that they would realize that we are not going to get weak, and that the United States of America will keep its obligation to provide us with arms as long as the Russians are providing the Egyptians with arms. So that the way to settle things would be by negotiation and not by trying to push us by force.
But sir, when you talk about balance of forces, where I lose you is that you already occupy a large part of Egypt. There is no chance whatsoever of the Egyptians to recapture that land.
I hope not.
And yet,
not
with that situation, you still come to us and ask for even more weapons. This leaves me, I don't quite understand it, because you have the balance of power, or you wouldn't be on Sinai.
Well, I really envy you, because we are 3 million people, and as far as weapons is concerned, we have about hardly 1 to 4. Now, do you think that we enjoy more than the balance of power?
But you want to continue to build up your power, it seems to me, as though you wish to stay on the Sinai.
We want to continue to build our power as far as we can in order to defend ourselves. I don't really think that a country of 3 million people can have too much arm, as much as their manpower allows it, in the condition and surrounded that we are. The Egyptians are 50 million. We are surrounded more or less by 70, 80 million Arabs, and they don't like us. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't really, they would rather not have an Israeli state there.
Let me ask you a little bit about the internal situation inside your country, surrounded, as you seem to feel yourself, by enemies and in a delicate balance of power. We have heard from time to time about increasing reluctance of some people, college professors, students, to be in a constant state of near war. Is this a growing trait inside your country?
I think this is a general one. None of us like to be in this position of tense of war, and we would like to have peace coming. You don't need professors for that. You can take generals for that too.
Well, what has the impact likely to be? Is it a growing situation?
I don't know. I don't really see any major change in this respect. I think that the impact of that is that we should try, and I really believe that we do that, every opening to reach an agreement with the Arabs, to try to reach any opening for that, but not of necessity to make a concession or to give up the essential things just for the, let's say, peace paper agreement.
But General Dayan, isn't that, if you'll excuse my saying it, isn't that a bit contradictory? You are willing to make any opening, make any concession, but not the essentials. But you
not
determine
to give up the essentials.
Yes, not to give up the, but you determine the essentials. There are people in Israel too who say that given a choice between peace and holding on to territory, you're tempted to hold on to too much too long, and therefore reduce the chances of reaching the peace that you want and seek.
If there are people in Israel that think that we should give up everything and go back to the old boundaries in return to peace agreement, then I differ. I don't agree with them. But if you talk about the Arabs, our position is that we have our position and they have theirs. Let's sit down to the table and try to come to an agreement, to a compromise, but not with a precondition dictated by us, by the Arabs.
Let me pursue this a little bit, because one of the jobs for which you are now traveling, as I understand it, is to help raise funds through the United Jewish Appeal. And there has been talk, sir?